All right, so let's talk about influence for a minute. What it means to have influence, what it means to use influence to, well, for lack of a better way of saying it, to get people to do what we want. This is one of the major problems that I encounter with every client that I work with, especially the ones who are newer to sales or marketing. Because anytime we talk about trying to get people to do what we want, it automatically conjures up images of used car salesmen or high pressure sales tactics that are out of alignment with who most people are and how they want to be perceived, right? And it's one of the reasons why when you do these big launches, doors open, doors closed, buy now, bonuses going away. This seems very manipulative, and in many ways it is. And so I want to go over kind of the 4 ways to get people to do what you want and to talk about each one of them. And by the end of this, what I hope is that you will have a better understanding of what it is that we're doing when we influence people, and that you'll have more confidence to get out there and do it. Because when we talk about doing it ethically, ethical influence, there's no unethical way to influence someone, as you'll see in just a minute. But when we talk about ethical influence, that's what everybody wants. We want people to see the value in who we are and what we have to offer, and then we want them to make the decision. The question is, how do we do that? And what are the processes we can use in order to do that? Some of them are very unethical, and others of them are part of our normal life. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe and like if you haven't already. And if you haven't noticed, we got a little upgrade. If you're new to the channel, you probably didn't, but I got a little vibe board here. Just came in the mail yesterday. So we're going to be giving this a try, not just with this YouTube channel, but also with my clients in order to provide what is hopefully a more interactive experience so we can get just as close as we can I like real world interaction, as close as us being in a room together as is possible today. Okay? So if you take a look at this little diagram here, I've kind of laid out 4 different ways that we can get people to do what we want. We're going to start up here in the top left-hand corner with persuasion. And this is kind of what everybody does every day of their lives, right? So the definition of persuasion is convincing someone to think, believe, or take action using, and here are the important words here, using logic and emotion. This is what we do every single day of our lives. Whether you're trying to get your kids to eat their peas, or you're trying to convince a friend to go to a movie that you saw, or whether you're trying to convince someone to buy your product or service and invest in you, right? We're using logic and emotion to do that. We're showing them, here's what your world's going to look like. Here's the benefits of doing this versus doing nothing, or doing what somebody else wants, or buying another product. And here's the value. Here's the emotional charge. Here's the transformation that's going to take place. That's really what we're talking about when we talk about emotion, is we're showing them the transformation, the new state that they'll be moving into once they come and they do business with us, and they actually take our advice and do what we want them to do. So that's persuasion. Nothing unethical about that at all, right? Now, there are ways that we can make it unethical. I'll show you here in a minute. But as its core, this is a natural part of living and a natural part of engaging in society with people, persuasion. Now, next to persuasion, we've got coercion. And coercion is something a little bit different. We're going to take this same concept of persuasion, the same definition here, okay? And we're going to say coercion is persuasion through, and here's the dangerous part, here's the nasty part, force and threats. So when we coerce someone, we're using the same thing. We're trying to get them to think, believe, or take action, but instead of using logic and emotion, we're going to use force and threats. We're going to say, if you don't do this, then we're going to hurt you. Or we're just straight up going to break your kneecaps and take the money out of your wallet and leave you for dead, right? So naturally, this is very negative. We don't want to do this. But over here on the persuasion side, this is definitely something that we want to do as business owners, as human beings, right? So coercion is simply persuasion through force and threats. Now, let's go down here to the bottom in manipulation. This is what most people confuse with persuasion or influence. See, manipulation is to modify or control someone's thoughts, beliefs, or actions. And how are we going to do that? We do it by lying, withholding the truth, or some other deceitful act. This is what most people confuse with influence or persuasion. is that we've all been in that situation where they've overly hyped the promise. They've made the promise so big and so incredible that we get all excited about it and we end up buying a product and then we find out, oh, yeah, they really oversold it. Or, oh man, they just totally lied about the quality of this. They totally lied about what I was going to get out of it or how easy it was going to be or how fast it was going to be. And that's the problem that's where the disconnect happens, sort of in that persuasion, influence, and coercion. And so they confuse it with manipulation. And one of the big ways I see this happening is they end up overvaluing the product. So we've all seen this. Oh, when you buy today, you're also going to get this bonus valued at $10,000 and this bonus valued at $5,000. And when you add it all up, you're getting $28,653 worth of stuff for just $9.99, right? And our market, that used to work 10, 15 years ago. That would be something that people would buy into and they would really see that. Now everybody's they're kind of into that. They've already seen it. They're wise to your shenanigans and it doesn't work as well. But still, every day we end up buying something or purchasing a product and it ends up being not anything that we thought it would be. I bought something the other day, spent $3 because there's a guy who was promising to show me a revolutionary new coaching model that was allowing him to scale his business infinitely while not having to work any extra hours. And in the back of my mind, because I've been at this 15 years and I've tried pretty much every business model for the coaching and consulting that there is, back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, I think he's full of it. Because if that was really true, I would know about it. But it's my job to know these things, and it was only $3, so I ended up buying it. And he promised a book and a training that went along with it. And of course, I got exactly what I expected to get, which was a 40-page promotion for his program, and then a video that explained how he was able to get results for his clients using his system that he didn't actually end up teaching me. That's the problem with the coaching and consulting industry today, is that they're using manipulation in order to convince people to do business with them, and then they're not delivering on the promise. Okay? Now, that takes us to influence. And what does it mean to have influence over someone? And this is where it gets really interesting. So let me see. There we go. So when we talk about influence, this is kind of like the golden goose. And we're going to use the same sort of definition here at the beginning that we used in manipulation, the ability to modify or control someone's thoughts, beliefs, or actions. But here's the thing, without persuasion, manipulation, or coercion. See, influence, when you have real influence over someone, when you really have control over an ability to move them from one space to another, from one mindset to another, to shift thoughts, beliefs, and actions, you don't have to use persuasion. You don't have to use logic or emotion. You don't have to use threat or force. You don't have to use dishonesty, lying, or a withholding of the truth. See, having real influence over someone means you've built such a deep level of trust with that person that they just do what you say. And if you've been around the coaching and consulting space for a while and you've actually engaged in this, you know who those people are in your business. Before I started this consulting company that I run now, I ran a business teaching traders and investors how to make money in the markets. And we would put out new products about every 6 months or so. We would come up with a new product. Maybe it was a new strategy or something that we were teaching that was working really well. And without fail, every time we would do that, we would get a handful of guys who would just call the office or send us an email and say, here's my credit card information. I know it's not coming out till next week, but here's my credit card information. Just bill me. And these were not small investments. We weren't selling $100 things. We were selling multi-$1,000 things. And I can remember having a conversation with our bookkeeper at the time, and the woman who answered the phone and took the credit card information. And she would say, well, listen, he hasn't announced the price yet. And the response was always, well, yeah, but I bought other stuff from him before. I know it's going to be good. I don't care. I don't want to have to wait around and remember to buy. I want it now. Just bill my card and send me the stuff when it's ready, right? That's influence. See, we don't have to do anything else. All we have to do is say, hey, this will be good for you. In my business today, every time we talk about a new program or we roll something out, a new training, I'll get people who send me messages on our current clients of mine and people who are on my email address, who on my email list, who will send me questions or send me emails and say, "Hey Jay, you kind of know my situation. Do you think this would be a good training for me? If you do, I'm just going to buy it." See, that's influence. See, they don't want to read the sales page. They don't want to try and sift through. It sounds kind of interesting. Sounds like it might be right. So let me just ask Jason, and if he says I need it, then I need it. Now, the only way to maintain influence with someone is to never lead them astray. See, if I took those people who called me up or emailed me and said, "Hey, Jason, should I buy this?" and I knowingly sold them something that wasn't a good fit for them, then the next time they're going to be more hesitant. I'm going to lose the ability to influence those folks. And now I'm going to have to go back over to persuasion, and I'm going to have to start giving them all of those reasons as to why they need to buy, rather than having the control. See, when we influence, we don't have to do any work. Influence is built over time. It's a byproduct of trust, credibility, and authority. And once you have those with somebody, you will always be a very small group of people who do business with you or who are considering it, who you will have influence over. Most of them you'll have to go into the persuasion category. There'll have to be a little bit of work done there. But neither one of these, there we go. Neither one of these are unethical. There's nothing wrong with persuasion or influence. Influence is something that you build over time because you have trust and credibility with the person that you're doing business with. And persuasion is what we use in order to convince somebody to make the right decision for themselves. And as long as you are not leading people astray, as long as you are not using force or threats or dishonesty in order to move them, then you're doing nothing wrong. And so I hope that kind of helps you a little bit understand the difference between these two and gives you the confidence to get out there and really sell yourself. If you can get a result for somebody, then don't be afraid to tell them about it. Don't be afraid to make a big promise to folks. Because if you can deliver on that promise, that's all that matters. And remember, at the end of the day, people aren't buying your thing. They're not buying your course. They're not buying your strategy. What they're really buying is an outcome. They're buying the promise that their life will change, or that their business will change, or that, their health will change if they do what you're telling them to do. And as long as you are always honest with them, and you're always truthful, and you can always back up the promises that you're making, you're going to be fine. So again, I hope that was helpful. Thanks for letting me try out the Vibe board, and don't forget to subscribe and like and share, and I'll talk to you guys soon.